David Hunt. I sit in the bow seat of the men's four, and I make all the calls on the boat.
Hi, I'm Vincent Breet. I sit at 3 seats. I mainly support Jake, make sure the transition between Jake and the rest of the crew is smooth.
Hi, I'm Jake Green. I'm the stroke man in the boats. I'm responsible for the rhythm and the tempo in the race.
I'm Roger Barrow. I'm head coach of Rowing South Africa.
Tell me a little bit about the stress that you may have faced in that moment.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there are 11 boats that qualified World Champs, and late qualifying is only 2. And a lot of countries that sort of maybe go for too much or sort of stretch their talent a little bit often go into smaller boats, and then you have the two spots are taken up by very, very high quality crews, whereas World Champs is maybe a little bit easier, if I could say that often. The other thing is that at World Champs you do have the knowledge that if it goes wrong you do have the late qualifying, where if you don't make it late qualifying, that's it. There's no Olympics for you.
You guys have competed around the world and you're off to a training camp in Zanin. How important is momentum going into the Olympics?
I think it's a extremely important attribute, especially towards the 4 of us. I think we started as a crew and just as a squad together. We've really started getting quite a bit of momentum these last 2 years. I think last year the 4 was very unlucky to not qualify, but I think maybe it was a little bit too little of time for the 4 to get together and really put down a good performance. Whereas I speak to the guys last year and they say they improved every race, they learned something new. Whereas I think that momentum just increased, and when we started the season this time round, I feel like when it came to crunch time, I think we really had such quality miles behind us, such good coaching, and I think that all we had to worry about doing is executing what we knew we could do, and I think we did that pretty well.
Everyone keeps referring back to the system that's been put in place and the processes that are in place that are world class. Do you want to maybe just talk to us a little bit about the importance of the coaching and the support system for a team like yourself?
Sure, so whenever one refers to the system, they refer to us being here in Pretoria and having each other in every boat class to compete against each day. It's very difficult, and a lot of people try to do it to go off independently, but there's no one to really hold you accountable. We're here, you get compared to the world best times, and 0.1% can make the biggest difference between winning and losing. And it's sort of that intra-squad competition that drives us every day.
How important are the dynamics around selecting a team like this?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, you reflected on the system. I mean, the system really creates the boats. As Vince was saying, when they get into the system, it's a brutal system. So, in the process of developing a new boat class, you need the caliber athletes like these 3 are, and then another 4 of them and 5 of them, and we've even got new guys coming in who are 19 years old. So the system keeps evolving. So when it comes to really forming the boat, I look as a coach of you've got 10 athletes, and you want to try and mould the best possible boat class for those athletes. And these 4 are very special, and you can see they're all very tall, they're very powerful, and they've got massive hunger. So you're always going to look at the way the athletes sort of carry themselves, what they want to do, how they want to execute race strategies, and you're going to try and mold people to that. At the end of the day, we also look at prioritizing our boats. So all of them were fighting for 2 seats, and then they were fighting for 4 seats. So the system is a brutal arena where they come in and combat, and we're racing against each other every day. And I think that's what makes them so special when it comes to Olympic Games or international regattas, is they've done the hard training, they've done the hard racing. I often saying training should be harder than racing. So by the time they get to the line, they're actually ready to do it. And I think if you watch their race at the late qualifier, they did smash the field. I mean, I don't like to use that word, but the race was over in the first 400 meters, and then they just had to hold their position. And that hard work's done in training, and a lot of commitment from these 4 of what they put in from a day to day. As we say, results are achieved by the work they've done 3 years out. And these guys have been in the system. Noddy's been in here coaching for 6 years. Vince has been the last 4 or 5 years, and Jake's the newcomer in the last 2, but he's certainly made up for in the last 2 years.
How do you go about simulating game day? How do you simulate that environment, the high pressure, the crowds?
I think we have a very honest system. whereby Vince explained that 0.01% is exposed every day. So this morning we had some race pieces, and we saw who was the best in the squad, and we saw who's the weakest. And we put up a list, and everyone goes and looks at the board and says, okay, I'm bottom of the list, so I'm not doing so well. And I think that sort of competitiveness and in your face every day simulates what the race environment's going to be. I think the Olympics has something special. It's got the Olympic rings, which is a daunting thing, but we're talking as a squad, we want to put our best performance on the day when it comes to the Olympics. The Olympics is another regatta, another race, and we've got to play it down to some extent.